Now, I'm hardly one to agree with the notions of modern feminism by any stretch of the imagination, but whenever I come across the spate of so-called comedy movies from the 80s, it's difficult not to concede that sometimes the bitches have got a point. Whether it's goofball flicks like Frankenhooker, which, believe you me, is nowhere near as funny as it should be, or cult classics such as Life Force, the women they feature, be they an amalgamated monster of body parts pieced together from amputated prostitutes, or simply a space girl who never need utter a single word, the leading woman is seen very much through the male gaze, and more often than not, the male gaze only. I mean, don't get me wrong. As a straight white and therefore toxic male, I'm perfectly fine with admitting that Matilda May was the only goddamn reason I sat through that otherwise irksome snooze fest of a movie. It is interesting to note, however, that their being a woman is in fact pretty much redundant. These creatures can be the living dead, an alien, and or a computer program designed by thirsty nerds. They need only the physical components of a female and nothing more. It's little wonder why such men struggle so much when it comes to getting laid then, really. Which leads me on to The Last American Virgin, a flick so tediously unfunny it makes American Pie look like a bona fide masterpiece by comparison.
Wait, for real?
Yes.
I first heard about this movie when the acid-happy Goatis reviewed it, labelling it a true blackpill film. In his review, he breaks down the plot like one of those recap vids, reacting to particular plot points and the like. I watched it until about halfway through and stuck the flick on my watch later list. And well, I still kind of wish I hadn't. Now, I'm not pointing fingers at Mr. Raw Meat or Die here or anything, but I'm still miffed as to why he didn't mention how goddamn terrible this movie really is, saved only by its totally sucker punch out of nowhere ending. Be that as it may, I'll give credit where credit's due. The Last American Virgin did get me thinking about the concept of the nice guy and how delusional, naive beliefs can make for some pretty savage conclusions. But does a great ending compensate for what was otherwise a complete bag of shit? Let's find out. So our leading boy is Gary, a pretty average, gormless looking dude who works as a pizza delivery guy. His best mate, the Patrick Swayze-maxing Rick, gets all the bitches, and his other mate, David, is fat. That's literally it. Rather than being funny to compensate for being fat, David is in the movie because being fat is automatically funny. I mean, it sort of is in Japan, I guess. If you put on the pounds over there, they make you wear a diaper and fight other fatties out of shame. But I digress. The movie begins with the boys looking to get some action. Gary turns up at a diner after getting off work and first encounters Karen, and it's made pretty clear that he has the hots for her. More on that later though. While hanging out there, the boys eye up a trio of females and bring them back to Gary's place since his parents are out for the night. The girls agree to go because drugs. During this, Rick of course hooks up with the only half attractive one while Gary and David try their luck with the other two. The only joke I think this scene featured was when Gary, having difficulty unhooking this heifer's bra, looks like he might just scissor them off instead. 'Cause, yeah, bras are tricky to unhook when you're a virgin, I guess. Lol? Lo and behold, Gary's parents return before, and thankfully, any breasts fall out, and a bit of teenage bedlam follows. And that opening scene basically sets up the entire film. It's three dipshits running around town chasing ass, rarely getting any, except for Rick of course, and generally acting like complete twats with zero consequences for their actions to worry about. I mean, if it was a satire of teenage fantasy flicks, it needed to go way further than it did to spoof the concepts it features. Instead, The Last American Virgin just comes across as deadly serious about its sheer stupidity. The next day, for instance, a side character chap is caught peeping at boobies in the locker room, at which he boasts to having the biggest dong out of the lot of them. So what do? Line up with boners to each have their cocks measured by Gary, who takes quite the curious front row seat to tally up those inches. I shit you not, male sexuality, whether hetero or homo, is pretty damn gay. Dudes have the same obsession with their dick as girls do about their entire bodies. But why is this scene in the film? Is it relevant in any way, shape or form? Telling of events yet to be foretold?
No.
Oh yeah, before getting to school for the dick swinging contest, Gary ran into Karen again. Being the nice guy he is, he slashes the wheels of her bike, coercing her to get into his car and ride to school with him. Once there, he asks her out, and she says no.
Savage.
Later that night, and what do you know, Karen is at the party Gary invited her to, only Rick has already chatted his way in there.
Brutal.
Then he gets drunk and makes a total entitled ass of himself. Just look at the way he stares at her. It's like an Arab or Indian when they first lay their eyes on a white girl. In fact, this was the only time the movie actually made me laugh, when Gary started doing his best Elliot Rodger impression nearly 10 years before the true American Virgin was even born.
That's just so wrong, because this isn't the Stone Age anymore. Girls should be going for intelligence, sophistication, men who are civilized, men like me.
In fairness to Gary though, if Elliot got treated like he does by the end of the flick, you could forgive him for a little rampage or two. Sadly, however, we've got 2 more scenes to get through before we get there.
Oh my god. Fine.
One day, Gary delivers a pizza to Carmilla, a very generic Latina. In true porn film fashion, Carmilla makes it abundantly clear that rather than pizza, she's ordered herself some hot young meat. Being a pussy and suspiciously gay again, Gary runs out of there and tells his boys about it, who then all go and pay Carmilla a visit. Naturally averse to sloppy seconds, Rick goes first, then the fat one has a go, but OMG, I never saw this coming. The stereotype Latina's stereotypical boyfriend shows up out of the blue just before nice guy Rick gets to have his turn. This poor boy just can't catch a break. Later, with his beady eyes still on Karen, Gary lures Rick away from her scent by tempting him to join him and Lardass when they pay a little visit to a prostitute later that night. This time, the 3 of them all get some action. Gary, however, being the very nice guy he is a bit traumatised by the fact that he slept with a skank just to stop his best mate from hooking up with the girl, who shows no signs whatsoever of even pissing on him were he on fire, and pukes after his liaison with the lady of the night. Seriously, I think this movie might just be proof as to why so many Gen Xers are such massive douchebags. The next day, Gary, Rick and the fat one are all feeling a little antsy. Something seems to be wrong. What do you know? They've all got crabs. Cue unfunny encounter with the pharmacist who thinks they mean head lice because they're all embarrassed about admitting they've got itchy scrotums instead. Thankfully, the lotion kicks in quick and we, finally, get to the concluding section of the film. Gary enters the classroom and notices a little lover's tiff going on between Rick and Karen. Being the very nice guy he is, Gary steps in and squares up to Rick for being so cruel. Just as they're about to throw down, some teachers get into the mix and everything breaks apart. Gary takes Karen aside and soon finds out that the girl only went and got herself pregnant. Damn. Still in hero mode, Gary promises Karen that everything will be okay, that he can fix this. It's his time to step up and show what he's made of. So he begs his boss for an advance on his wages and sells some of his possessions, and then does what must be the biggest simp moment in the history of cinema and pays for Karen's abortion. The abortion of another man's baby.
Are you fucking retarded? The hell's the matter with you?
Shit really does suddenly get real in this flick. After the operation, Gary even takes her back to his dead grandmother's place or something and plays nursemaid to Karen until she feels better. Sensing that he couldn't have done all this nice guy stuff for nothing, Karen is ripe for the taking. But, being the nice guy he is, Gary doesn't take it any further than a slightly awkward kiss. I mean, what a dipshit. If she really wanted the abortion so bad, he could have, got some consequence-free sex out of the girl beforehand.
What a fucking idiot.
But of course, Gary doesn't do that, because Gary is a nice guy. After their smooch, Gary is over the moon and confesses his love to Karen, the girl he's barely spoken to the entire flick, and who has just had an abortion less than 24 hours prior. But that doesn't matter, because Gary is in love. The two of them are now a couple, apparently, so Gary goes one step further and gets Karen an additional gift, going into even more debt for the girl. It's her birthday, you see, so I guess he's got to do something other than pay to terminate the living thing inside her. All excited, Gary heads to Karen's, eager to see his girl and let the world know he finally got what he wanted. Oh yeah, for convenience, the script got rid of the other characters by tossing them into a ski resort just before all the baby killing stuff. So not only did Gary end up out of pocket, but he also missed the opportunity to go skiing, all for a girl who had no one to turn to but him, on his insistence, no less. He was there for her when no one else was. Surely that must mean something.
Right? Wrong.
Rick walks into Karen's house, but the girl doesn't seem to be around. That's strange. I mean, everyone else they know is there, so where could the girl be? Fatso thinks he saw her in the kitchen, so Gary heads on over there, only to see Karen back in the arms of Rick, clinging on and making out with him despite everything that's transpired. Damn.
Savage.
Brutal.
Now, the acting throughout was pretty lackluster, but in this final exchange between Gary and Karen, something really does click. It hits pretty fucking hard. Even the actors seem to know it. This is one brutal ending. Devastated, Gary runs to his car and starts driving, crying his broken little heart out underneath a soundtrack as terrible as the majority of the film has been. And that's it. To be honest, this has been one strange film to try and cover. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is an objectively bad fucking movie, but still, it's hard not to feel that ending. It cuts deep. I suppose the biggest thing I wonder is whether the film sort of gets a pass, or whether it should get a pass for having such an ending. It really does come out of nowhere, given everything we've been torturously exposed to beforehand. But I don't know. I can't help but think it was either a fluke or maybe that everything that led up to it was intended to be satire, but being American, they didn't know what that really was. So it came across as serious in its stupidity, only to get serious when the consequences of their idiocy came to fruition. All I can say is that a great ending does not a good movie make, but it does compensate for something, I guess. Overall, the film isn't even a turd in a tuxedo, but rather one with only a bow tie. My main complaint about the film, though? The goddamn soundtrack. I swear, there were scenes in this film where it cuts to bad synthy song, uses that to transition to the next scene, only for the characters to exchange all but 3 words to each other, and then another bad synthy song would cut in to take its place. One of the tracks, which underscored Gary during his pussier moments, was used several fucking times during the runtime of the film. For real, 3 or 4 times the same song was played, as if it would evoke the same emotions each and every time, when they were separated by less than 10 minutes apiece. The movie was like watching one of those YouTube videos of a song where some kid slices up disconnected shots from some crappy forgotten movie. But at least in those instances, I can appreciate the reason why some guy would choose to do so. I mean, damn, maybe I should check out this movie next. It looks fucking amazing. But well, there it is. The Last American Virgin. Going by the statistics of our times, the movie was as right about that as it was about being funny. Still, the ending was banging, and it showed plenty of titties. Seeing how so many films these days are just a tedious waste of time with neither a good ending nor any titties whatsoever, you might get some kind of enjoyment out of it. At least the guys in it got to have some fun, I guess. As the audience, it's at our expense, but still, at least they had a good time. Remember when movies were fun? Yeah, me neither.
I'm scared, Mom. I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm plunging headfirst into some kind of black void of sheer, utter madness or something.
Do you want a sandwich?
I should be the one with the girls. I don't know why you girls are not attracted to me. I'm the perfect guy. I'm magnificent. I'm a god.